here, but wow. I just yeah,
Nice,
just
nice to meet you, Danny.
you guys haven't
Likewise,
met?
Ralph. No, I
I
don't
never
think
met
so.
Danny. No, I never met Danny before. No.
Well,
He's
guy, yeah,
he's way more handsome than you stated, Chip. But
than what I said, yeah.
Hey,
So,
listen. That's a nice compliment for an old fart like me.
welcome to the show, gentlemen, and to streamers. We are on the streaming part of the show right now. In less than 6 minutes, according to the MBS clock behind me, we're going to be starting the radio portion of the show on satellite radio. That said, it is going to be the Chief Ralph Ornelas show, Danny King show, Officer Danny King, all the way from the Las Vegas area today. So, and Chief Ornelas, and I'm saying this a lot for Danny's benefit too, because they haven't met before. But Ralph Ornelas used to work for LAPD. Or I'm sorry,
Come on, man.
I didn't mean
Come
to
on,
downgrade you.
man.
LA Sheriff's Office, not the PD. The guys that get it done, the sheriff's office, the ones that train the PD dudes, So he retired, and then he got a chief job in California where he still lives, and so that's his background. So he's worn both a SO hat and a PD hat, which is kind of cool. And Danny has got a pretty sweet law enforcement career himself, and he's still in the game because he helps cops out that get in the grease. And he helps them either do exit strategies or preserves the job. So, yeah.
Sure.
I want to hear more about that, Danny.
Well, the first thing that's important to understand is that calling a LA SO guy, LAPD guy is that's something you don't do. Yeah, it's fighting words, right?
Nah, honestly, I don't mind, Danny. I'll tell you why later on. Go ahead.
All right.
Well, that's Danny's company right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're temporarily updating the site, but I do expert work as well as teach officers what makes force controversial. What are the things that cause problems for law enforcement officers? What is it that either the administration or society kind of misunderstands about it? But it's increasingly becoming problematic. Like one of the shootings that we'll talk about in Brentwood. What the body camera sees is completely different than what the public sees, right? Or excuse me, what the officer sees. And so because you have that disparity between the two, a lot of times people think the officer is just wrong.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, guys. Yeah. And I'm just checking the connections now and making sure that we're looking good. Of course, I can already see that we got Sergeant George on. Looks like he's on YouTube today. So welcome to the show from Hayward, California, where it's 55 degrees. So welcome to the show. Wants me to talk to the guys at NBC about Law and Order theme music for the show. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen, dude. I've got some connections in the music industry too, and dude, it's like yeah. Plus, I don't want the Law and Order theme music. That's kind of out there. I want something that's a little bit more original that people can't hear anywhere else. And if they hear it, they're going to know it's my show. I got a couple of things I'm working on in my spare time, which is like almost non-existent these days. So
yeah,
and
you must have roller skates on there, Chip.
Dude, I got so much going on. I thought that. You don't want to be one of these guys. I grew up. I say I grew up. I was a cop with people, and some people were just like Andrew from Richmond. How you doing, buddy? It's 49 degrees there, I guess. But I grew up. There were guys that were never good at it. They were okay or good at stuff, but they weren't great at anything because they did too much. And I don't want to be that guy. So I try to stay in my lane. And that's why I have a PI license. I don't do a lot of PI work because I really excel at this. I'm good at the PI stuff too, but there's just not enough hours and time to do everything, right? But yeah, I'm so busy at this stage of my life, but I like being I love being busy, but I really it's just it just prevents you from doing so many things. Like even a simple phone call. Like when I'm driving my car, now I have to be on the phone making it productive time. Because I don't have the time to make those phone calls any other time. I just got too much going on, So yeah, it's just weird how you have to. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to slow down, or I'm trying to preparing for that in case I want to. But
I don't think you will slow down, Chip.
You don't think so?
No, I could see in your eyes, man. I can see it. I can read.
Oh, I'm having way too much fun, but my wife would like me to slow down a little bit, So I've got this new project that I'm undertaking, relaunching Leo Affairs. I got my Leo Affairs shirt on right here.
Wow, look at
And
what is that about?
I started a site with Jim Preston, and that was back around 2002. And it allowed cops to talk anonymously without the fear of repercussion about things going on within the agency. I started it for my own agency, Tampa First, right after I went through a really nasty IA investigation, because I didn't want what happened to me to happen to other guys. And I'll tell you more. We're coming up on the radio clock, but
Go ahead.
I ended up, I ran it for 12 years, and Preston and I started it together, and then there was some drama with the union, the FOP, and so we kind of he left and did the FOP thing, and I stayed and did the Leo Affairs thing, and then I ended up selling it, and the new company shut it down a couple years ago, and there's really a need for that, so I'm resurrecting the site. So
well, it sounds like Danny Boyd is involved in a little bit of that too, in a way. What he's doing
in a way,
educating some of the officers on certain incidents. Am I
5
right?
seconds, guys. Go on the radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host for a group of law enforcement professionals that talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. And let me introduce the crew. Guys, if you don't mind waiting for the video portion of our show, he's back. We have Chief Ralph Ornelas, formerly L.A. Sheriff's Office, and before he went to a PD over there in California, became a chief, and now retired so far. We'll see how long that lasts. And then we've got Danny King as well. He's got an exemplary law enforcement career. Is that the word he wanted me to use? Exemplary, yeah. I said it. Exemplary law enforcement career. And hey, he's also got a website that you guys need. Now you're doing work on the website, I know, Danny, but it is AmericanPatrolman.com. When he gets that site back up and running, you guys get more information about Danny or doing the expert testimony thing with him. So, but thanks for being on the show, guys. Appreciate it. And the shout out to our sponsors, guys. Please support our sponsors. They go to great lengths to bring this good quality content to you. We have our title sponsor, Galls at Galls.com. We have Compliant Technologies. There are satellite sponsors, Satellite Radio. We have Gunlearn.com, Medicare.live, Safeguard Recruiting, our streaming sponsor. Thanks to them, we're streaming to over 1 million followers during the live show right now, and we're getting ready to pick up another 250,000 as well. So it's all good. And then we have twobells.com. They built a new online store at leoroundtable.com. Go to our website, upper right corner, you see the online store, and you can go there, get cool gear like the mug I have behind me and all kinds of stuff, shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff. So check that out. And a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying our content, Brian. Also Ray Dietrich with formerlawman.com. And then lastly, Travis Yates with lawofficer.com. Thanks to all those entities for helping make the show happen. I'm going to talk about what we're going to talk about. But first, let me just say that yesterday we released the results of the Glove Challenge, the Glove by Compliant Technologies, our sponsor. And so people may remember that both myself and panelists, Dr. and Major Travis Yates from the Tulsa Police Department, we both got gloved on a Thursday during SHOT Show. And it was Dan Dela Cruz applied the glove. And we were both trying to resist the longest period of time. And so the way the Glove Challenge worked was that there were two of us doing the Glove Challenge. We were trying to see who would last the longest. And then we were trying to get people to donate to the Wounded Blue. That's Lieutenant Randy Sutton's 501c3. And whoever donated the most money to the Wounded Blue in the name of the person that lasted the longest, both those parties would end up getting a free pair of gloves. They're valued at about $2,000 a pair. And so I ended up winning, but just by a fraction. I made it like 1 point something seconds. And Travis was around the 1 second mark when it was done. If you would have told me that Travis won and I I would have believed you, because it was really that close. I mean, it was just the luck of the draw. So I'm getting a free pair of gloves that I'm donating to the Tampa Police Department and trying to get that done this week. And also Michael Van Slock, or MVS, one of our biggest fans, probably our biggest fan. He won. He donated to both me and Travis, and he double played it, and he was the highest bidder for me. And so he's getting a free pair of gloves too that he can donate to an agency of his choice. I don't know if he's picked the agency out yet or not, but so it's a win-win, and we got some money for the Wounded Blue, so it all works. So that happened. I just wanted to refresh everybody's minds about that. What are we talking about? We have there's a couple stories. They're really about the same. We have a list of U.S. Cities that are raising security amid the Iran conflict, but we've also got national terrorism advisory issued for churches. So talking about the same thing. We got a police chief wants to fire 3 officers with disabled veteran license plates on personal cars. I'm sure Danny King's got something to say about that. We got a San Jose police. They released helicopter and body cam footage of a shootout that left the suspect dead. Guys, I have never written so many notes before on a police video. Wild, crazy. We have 3 videos, unbelievable. Then we have Brentwood police officer fatally shot a suspect who went for the rifle inside of his car. We've got after a suspect accused of injuring an NYPD officer with snowballs, the DA lessens the charges. You know what? We'll drop that one. We won't even go to that one. And then we got a police cruiser. There's a police car tries to pit a guy in an SUV pulling an empty trailer, and then he ends up on top of the trailer being pulled by the bad guy. A second police car has to pit the SUV, pulling the trailer with the police car on it, and then it's just everything breaks loose. The jackknife cop car falls off the trailer and tumbles over sideways, and the SUV pulling the trailer crashes head on into a tree. Just a nightmare. It's just, but what a video, huh? It's only like a 30-second video. Wow. So if you guys are ready, let's go and get the party started. Our first story, main topic, newsweek.com, list of U.S. cities that are raising security amid Iran conflict. There's a lot of cities. I'm not so much focusing on the cities. Of course, you've got, New York, and you've got, Chicago and other ones, but it talks about how law agencies across the United States, so really everywhere, they've increased patrols following the escalating tensions involving Iran. We all know what's going on with Iran, and, it's pay now, pay later. I'd rather pay now and not have to worry about a nuclear, armed missile being headed my way. Federal authorities are warning of a potential elevated risk environment because of what's going on. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem told Newsweek, I am in direct coordination with our federal intelligence and law enforcement partners as we continue to closely monitor and thwart any potential threats to the homeland. And the Department of Homeland Security, they've circulated an internal bulletin for law enforcement partners warning that the conflict could inspire lone actors or small-scale cyber activity inside the U.S. And ABC News got a hold of that. And they're also talking about a large-scale physical attack is unlikely, and Iran and its proxies probably pose a persistent threat at targeted attacks in the homeland, and it will almost certainly escalate retaliatory actions or calls to actions if the reports of the Ayatollah's death were confirmed, which, of course, they have been. And then moving along, the next one that we have in reference to that, and I'm just going to lump them in together, lawofficer.com, National Terrorism Advisory issued for churches. There's we're concerned about churches and synagogues. This is where these people are typically going to hit, places like that, major metropolitan areas where we've got New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Tampa, where I'm at, CENTCOM, Central Command is right here. So a lot of these areas and other ones, the soft targets, and they're talking about the same DHS bulletin and stuff. So guys watching the show, we want our panelists to talk. I want them to talk, but guys, wherever you go, keep your head on a swivel and make sure you carry wherever you go. We have 2 open mics. Danny King, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So naturally, this is something that Americans are concerned about, but also familiar with, where we have a lot of mass shootings, and that's the biggest thing, is that you don't need a dozen armed militants or terrorists to show up at any one place and start creating havoc or wreaking havoc. You can have one guy walk into a bar in Austin, right, or into a hotel here in Vegas, and so those are things that are ever present. And for law enforcement, these types of increases in security or concern aren't anything really new, right? Most people don't know that most cities have what's called fusion centers in them. And fusion centers are a group of law enforcement officers and intel analysts that are there 24 hours a day that monitor social media, regular media, intel bulletins, and they have the ability to send out oftentimes either statewide, countywide messages. So as an example, when the thing in Austin happened, if it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, all law enforcement on duty would get a message via their MDT or email saying, hey, this is what's going on in Austin, right? And so now that allows law enforcement to shift, maybe go to their local kind of district where there's bars and nightlife, things like that. So, yeah, you know what? I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Iran is not usually the center of any type of uh, anything that gets people up in arms on one side or the other. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen here. But I'm hoping it's not much, but we'll see with time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well laid out, Danny, what you just stated there. And, the Joint Regional Intelligence Center, a lot of different sectors of the United States. And here it goes again. The street cop does have information out there, and they pass it along laterally or up and down and stuff. And we all know that, we have to communicate effectively all the time from a local, state, federal agencies. And we have proven, around the country after even 9/11, how much we improved. We're still improve more, but the intelligence is so critical. But, I look back, when I was working in Central America, the fact that, our intelligence and also interviewing people in other prisons, which I did with investigators from LAPD, LA County Sheriffs down out in Central America. I'll tell you something. We acquired a lot of intel from that because a lot of the Latinos had a lot of Islamic extremist tattoos on their back, which we passed along to the Air Force intelligence, and we passed all that stuff. So we know that what we could do and can't intervene, but when you have a lone actor, like what happened the other day in Austin and other places, sometimes it slips through the cracks. I mean, that's where, Danny, you mentioned the community has to see things, say something too. So we all have to work together. And I like the fact that, NYPD still has investigators in Israel working with that to get intel back to our country to help out. LAPD's doing that. So I think that there's a lot of different levels that we have to do to mitigate this. And also, I'll leave this in last second to get a minute left, is that, the last few years, we got a lot of people in this country, over 12 million that came in. We don't know really who they are. We don't know where they are and where they're at and who they are and what level of training they've had from other countries.
Yeah, that's scary. And that's what, if anything keeps me up awake at night, that's what that's what does. So, any more commentary, gentlemen? Or are you guys ready to roll to the next one, Danny?
Yeah, actually, with the few seconds we have left, I was listening to a gal named Sarah Adams. She's a former CIA targeter, and she mentioned, there's 18,000 known terrorists that I believe came across the southern border, and she mentioned they know for a fact there's a cell in Las Vegas, which, it stunned me because it's not what you want to hear, but it's one of those things that unfortunately it's probably true. So we know that we have problems and we've got to fix these things pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, well, we need to send them to meet some virgins. And it's time for our first commercial break, guys. We're going to be talking about golf. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, time to talk about our title sponsor, Gulls at Gulls.com. And, as police officers, one thing we love to do and we're really, really good at, we love to buy gear. And when you throw the online mix and the online option, the choices are almost limitless. But I want to remind everybody about really what's most important here. It's about supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know if a company does that better than Gulls at Gulls.com. Even the motto you can see in the banner behind me, it's proud to serve those who serve, which of course they do in spectacular fashion. And not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens of focused organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Gulls at Gulls.com, and they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've got a radio code. It's radio15. Type in radio15 in order to get 15% off your next order at Gulls.com. It works on most purchases, and they have gift cards. Hook up your family, friends, and loved ones with a new Gulls gift card, and they will be your new best friends. You can do all that at Gulls.com. They have pretty much everything but guns and ammo, Gulls.com. All right, we got 2 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion of the show. All right, we're off to a good start, gentlemen.
Hey, Danny and Chip, yesterday I spoke to former operators of LA County Sheriff's SWAT team. They retired, and what they're doing now with other operators, but from different agencies that work SWAT, they're now providing contracted to synagogues security. And, I commend them for that. I commend them for that. Here we go again. People of our career path, what they take that talent and use it on the private end to augment law enforcement agencies in Los Angeles and up and down the state of California, actually.
Yeah, a lot of the guys over here. I used to do church security. I mean, professionally under my PI license, we have it's one of those abilities. If you have a PI license, instead of having just a security guard license or an armed guard license, you can carry, with the armed guards here in Florida and stuff. That you have to there's extra hoops you have to jump through in order to be like plain clothes or carry the gun concealed and stuff. But with a PI license, you can do all that. Executive protection. We called it a dignitary protection when I did it when I was working in intelligence. But of course now it's executive protection on the PI side. But I did a lot of that, and a lot of churches they have. You know what? I think the smartest thing for the church to do is not that have and train people internally. There's so much liability involved. If you contract with people that are doing it and not telling them how to do it, there's that protective barrier that insulates you from a lot of liability, just in case it hits the fan, and you've got some civilians that die or get injured or hurt or whatever. But a lot of people take it here very seriously in Florida. We got 10 seconds, guys. I'm going to start Danny's favorite music, and we're going to go back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by Chief Ralph Ornelas, all the way from California. Don't hold it against him. And then we got Officer Danny King from the Las Vegas area. And we have been talking about Iran and the threat to the homeland that the war in Iran is presenting. And any more commentary on that? And especially to the churches, synagogues, and places of worship, stuff like that. What I'd like to do before we get to these unbelievable videos, I'd like to cover that update story that is in Riverside, California. So let's go to that. Lawofficer.com is the source. Police chief wants to fire 3 officers. And guys, I'm getting some horrible background noise. If you guys can mute your mics, I appreciate it. Riverside Police Department is moving to fire 3 patrol officers after the department discovered the officers were using disabled military tags and license plates on the personal vehicles. And this is according to Police Chief Larry V. Gonzalez. He said this last week. Now, at the center of the dispute is a collision. They're calling it a collision of paperwork and perception. So the officers were rated 100% disabled by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, which is what makes them eligible for the DMV disabled veteran plates, which is what they had on their personal vehicles. The lawsuit was filed on the officers' behalf on July of 2025. So this happened less than a year ago. The department's position is that these plates, again, on their personal cars, violate internal rules, specifically a policy that restricts, and I'm going to say this slowly because I missed it the first time, the police department policy in California, Ralph, it restricts disabled veteran plates to official vehicles used for disability-related duties, not personal cars. So it restricts them just to be used on those. So the department's move to seek the termination of these employees escalates what began an internal investigation back in 2025 after the plates were noticed. And then it became a public test of where the department's administrative authority ends and a veteran's legal recognized disability status begins. And so the officers, they're being represented by an attorney, Matthew McNicholas, and he said the plates have no relevance to their ability to do the job and that the officers have done nothing wrong. So what he's saying is that even though they're, for the military purposes, they're maybe 100% disabled, he's saying that they're fine to do the job. There's no correlation there. The attorney goes on to frame the department's action as an inappropriate leap from a state-issued designation on a privately owned car to implied judgment about fitness for duty, raising the question of whether an employer should be scrutinizing a veteran's disability status when the employee is otherwise performing patrol duties and satisfactory as well. I don't have an open mic yet, so let me just go ahead and start it off. I know that in my time with Tampa at the police union, we had an issue where a vet had disability status, but the problem that got him in the grease is that he lied on his application and he never let TPD, never made them aware of it, nor the pension system. So we hired on a guy that ended up having some, he had some PTSD issues too, which complicated the issue. So anyhow, when we found out that he had these issues, that they were diagnosed and that he was receiving a check for them, but it was never declared during the hiring process, that created a problem. So we had to move from salvaging or saving the job to exit strategy, right? And I think Danny probably knows better than anybody what I'm talking about. There wasn't really a lot we could do for him because he wasn't forthcoming through the application process with the agency. So that said, I find this kind of fascinating because, it seems like it's such a reach, Danny, for them to go in for these are their personal cards. They have these DMV tags on for showing veteran status. And I know there's no necessarily a correlation between disability, assuming that the agency hired them, knew about the disability status, but that they still must have passed that physical fitness test, which I'm assuming they had to do. Ralph, you're over there in California, not me. So it's a good conversation, Danny.
Yeah, well, this story quite honestly confuses me. I would think that the chief has bigger fish to fry, but at the same time, I don't understand the correlation between veteran plates and a department policy. I think the bigger issue would be, hey, listen, you're saying you're a disabled veteran. How can you do law enforcement work? But that doesn't seem to be the issue. So I know we have guys. When I got out of the Army, I was busted up. And I have cracks in my spine from flying on helicopters and falling out of helicopters and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But when I left the Army in the 90s, disability was nothing, and I had a family to feed, so I just had to suck it up for the last 20, 30 years. That's why I look the way I look, is that I'm all busted up. But now those things are coming to, I'm paying for them now. You know what I mean? At 52 years old, I'm like an old Russian helicopter. So, I get that there's an issue, what that issue is, and if it's the chief's issue or if it's the VA's issue, I guess I'm confused.
First of all, thanks for your service, Danny. Number one. Number two, I got to tell you, I put through the academy a lot of military, when I was a staff instructor at the academy. And I can tell you this, we always checked on the backgrounds. We never hired anybody had a disability from that. My memory that they had a disability from the military, Danny and Chip and audience. So that kind of confuses me. Something I kind of, and being a chief, I've had military come, and as a chief we hired on. I never heard of anybody that we hired had a disability for the military. And so it's really, as Danny says, I'm a little perplexed here. The hiring process, the background, the medical would see that. And I never saw anybody in my time that had a military disability. I could be wrong, but my memory has never bring back that anybody had a disability for military. But so this chief obviously, maybe, again, I'm only hypothesizing right now, maybe he found out that his background investigators or contracted background hired these people, him not knowing. Now he's going after them, finding out. I'm just surmising here. I don't know that now they got a disability license plate. It's kind of interesting. It's really perplexes me. I'll be honest with you, Chip and Danny.
Well, I got to admit that I did not know that, and we're about 30 seconds out from a commercial break, but I did not know that you have to have 100% disability to get those veteran plates. If I did see somebody I knew to be a cop driving around with a plate advertising he has 100% disability, but he's, carrying a gun to protect me and stuff, it would probably give me pause, to be honest with you. I know a lot of veterans that have disabilities, just like 10%, 50% or something pretty low. But look, we got a commercial break coming up. We'll continue this in a minute. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, introducing Applied Technologies at complianttechnologies.com. And they're committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low-optics manner, utilizing their CD3, which stands for Conductive Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Now, their flagship product, we all know by now, it's called the Glove. It's helped officers I was going to say tens of thousands of times, but now there are over 250,000 deployments with no injuries, no deaths. You heard me correctly. I said no injuries. The glove has actually achieved non-lethal status in an arena that predominantly can only offer less lethal results. And when it comes to weapons retention, transitioning to a sidearm or conducted energy weapon, the glove at CompliantTechnologies.com, they virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Compliant Technologies and the revolutionary CD3 that hundreds of agencies have already turned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense, hands-on solutions that's ever come along. So go to CompliantTechnologies.com today. All right, guys, we got about 4 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. 4 minutes. Well, we could do a lot of damage in 4 minutes.
You know, Danny and Chip, I got a gut feeling, I could be wrong here. I don't think the Chiefs going to be successful firing these three officers for some reason.
If they knowingly hired these guys with the disability status that they're saying that they have, or and if they ask the right questions, yeah, I would agree. But maybe they didn't ask the questions, or maybe they didn't know. You know.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, Danny. You were in the military. You know, you get what the DD 214, Danny.
Yep.
Doesn't it say something about that, Danny? Correct me on that. Doesn't it say something about
no? So
a disability?
Well, it could. Mine didn't, right? So once I walked away from the Army, I took my DD 214, which the physical disability comes later, right? Meaning that the DD 214 is your record of service, what you did, schools, awards, so on and so forth. And then when I took mine, they're like, yeah, follow up with your VA. And I just never followed up with the VA until recently. So it might be that you get discharged and then you do all your VA appointments, and then very shortly they update your DD 214. But I don't think that's the case, but I wouldn't know.
Yeah. See, I always worry about the pension, because they say that you retired on the military. Just say, I'm not talking about if you have a disability retirement from the military. You know, I don't know how in the world you would get a job in law enforcement, but there are some law enforcement agencies that hire guys with prosthetics and stuff like that. I don't believe in that at all. But if you have, let's just say you have a bad knee, you blew your knee out. Now you've got to, when you're in a pension system, that really affects everybody. I got an issue with that. I know that there are some officers that come on and they're fat, obese, overweight, or they have diabetes and stuff, which is a precursor to a lot of these issues that you have. And it's very heavy on the pension. Pensions just can't survive like that. You get a guy from the military that's got an injury. What if he re-injures it, or the potential for the re-injury is problematic, because now the guy can be on the job for 5 years, and for the rest of his life, him and his spouse can draw a disability pension that you're paying for, basically, and arguably the taxpayer. So it's muddy, that water.
We when I was a drill instructor at LA County Sheriff's Academy, we had a colonel from the Marine Corps retired. A colonel, he came, and then all of a sudden he joined the sheriff's department at 43 years old. I can't remember, in the 40s.
Too old.
Yeah. But guess what? No, he did. He beat the pants out of some of the younger people.
Well, he might have, but it's, you're not going to have that guy for longevity. You're going to put a lot of money and time into him.
He did 10 years. Yeah. He did 10 years. He did 10 years, but he still went out and patrol and did the job. But then after his 10 years, he took what he took. But it's interesting. He didn't go out on disability from the sheriff's department, though.
No, well, I mean, that's good. And I'm not saying it, but like, I know you can't discriminate against people because of age. But my gosh, getting a guy that once someone gets 40 or above, if I had that agency, there would be nobody coming to work for me at that. If they were already in their 40s and they haven't started off in a career in law enforcement, it would be it would have to be a very unique situation. It's just the bad guys are 18 and 21 years old. That doesn't change. So, and you got to spend your so many years just getting your feet wet, chasing down bad guys, hopping fences and stuff, and some dude in his 40s. The likelihood of that being, anyhow, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Here we go, guys. Back to radio. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip DeBlock, and I'm your host. We're joined by Chief Ralph Ornelas, all the way from California, Officer Danny King from Las Vegas metro area, and we've been talking about a chief that didn't like his officers driving around with disabled vet tags. So, is there anything more on that? Or are you guys ready to go to the videos?
No, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the video.
All right, guys, watching the show, put your seatbelts on. This is going to be a wild ride. I kid you not. Now, look, every once in a while, let me just go and say our source for videos is almost solely This Is Butter's channel at rumble.com. So This Is Butter, kind of like us. We had a huge presence on YouTube, and then YouTube started trying to cancel us because we're conservative and we're law enforcement. And so This Is Butter moved the operation kind of like we did over to rumble.com. So if you go to rumble.com, the name of the channel is This Is Butter. They have all the police videos that come out well before anybody else gets them. San Jose police released a helicopter and body cam footage of a shootout that left the suspect dead. So we're in San Jose, California. So I expect Chief Ornelas to have some inside scoop on this. Now my notes are ridiculous on this thing. So I'm gonna go quickly on this. But if we get to all three videos, people listen to the show, you absolutely positively have to watch them. In order to do that, all you have to do, our live show is Monday through Friday during the lunch hour, Eastern time, 12 to 1 o'clock. If you want to watch this show with the videos embedded into it, all you have to do the very next day at 9 o'clock in the morning, producer Will, who puts them up on a Rumble channel, and at 9 o'clock in the morning. So at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, a copy of this live show will air, and it'll have a thumbnail on it that's got like a screenshot of the action from one of the videos, and it'll have like a suspect run over, or something like that on it, and it'll appear at 9 on our Rumble channel, and it's called Leo Roundtable is our Rumble channel name. San Jose, California, a violent crime spree in Northern California ended in a deadly police shootout on Wednesday. Now, the multi-day crime spree included several armed robberies and carjackings spanning multiple counties and cities. The suspect was a 30-year-old named Mohammed Hussein, that name, he died after he was run over by police. And there was more than one attempt to run this dude over, too. Meantime, a police sergeant ends up getting shot in the head by this sucker and is expected to survive, though. Thank God. Under fire, wounded, and under extreme stress, his training and resolve kicked in, according to San Jose Police Chief Paul Joseph. Only a person with a warrior spirit could fight through an encounter like that and live. I got to tell you, when I first watched the video, I took my notes, and when I saw the body cam of the sergeant that got shot in the head, I had to go back and erase a lot of what I wrote, because the initial helicopter video I saw misled me into thinking some stuff happened that didn't happen. We'll cover that in a second. So according to Chief Joseph, on January the 17th, Hussein, our bad guy, he likes Corvettes. He stole a red Corvette from a dealership in Sacramento, California, committed multiple armed robberies in Northern California and the Bay Area over the following days. And then on Wednesday, license plate readers, they spot the Corvette in San Jose, but officers cannot find the driver. And then he steals a bright green Corvette at gunpoint from a dealership in San Jose, and there's a police chase when he steals that second Corvette. Now, we got air servers up. So helicopters following him about 45 miles south of Hollister, and this dude gets into a shootout with San Benito Sheriff's Department and the Hollister Police Department. And then he steals another car in Hollister, and it was captured on cell phone video, and he drives back to San Jose. And during the process, while he's fleeing, he's firing shots at California Highway Patrol, who's involved in this chase too. So it all ends in downtown San Jose. They got a video it starts off with air service, helicopter video obtained by fugitive.com. So you can see the suspect. He shoots the sergeant. So let me kind of go masses together. You see our bad guy running from police, and he gets in an intersection. People are stopped for the light, and he tries to fit between two cars. He hits one of the civilians' cars, and then he ends up stopping. I'm not clear whether it didn't look like there was maybe enough damage to disable the car. There could have been, I don't know. Regardless, he stops his car, gets out, and now he looks like he's going to go up and try to carjack the civilian. Well, when he's walking between the vehicles, this police car at a high rate of speed comes zooming between the two cars, trying to take him out, trying to hit him. Well, he dodges out of the way of the police SUV, and the police car, it sideswipes our bad guy's car, which was stopped in the middle of the intersection. And so our police SUV just goes a few feet forward, stops, and that's our sergeant that gets shot in the head. As soon as he gets out, bad guy's waiting, bam, shoots him in the head. You can see the sergeant bleeding. So from the air service video, I thought the sergeant exited the car. I didn't know he'd been shot, and I thought that he was engaging the bad guy and that he retreated back inside the car. Not what happened. Sergeant just opened up the door and looking to get out, he gets hit in the head immediately. So now the sergeant is half sitting in the car and half leaning out. Bad guy notices this, comes up and engages him from the rear of the police SUV. Close quarter gunfight. The sergeant's just partially, has partial cover, like his right leg's out, and you can see the rest of his body's in, but he gets in a gunfight with the guy. The bad guy walks around the side of the car. Our police sergeant leaves the cockpit of the cruiser, goes into the middle of the intersection while the bad guy is circling, getting into the open door on the police cruiser now, trying to steal it. And it's a big police SUV. Our sergeant standing, not ideal situation, but of course he's been shot in the head. There's a lot going on there. He fires shots through the glass windows on the passenger side of his own SUV, trying to put bullets into the bad guy who's in his car trying to steal it. No problem with that, right? Bad guy, at this point, gives up on stealing the car. Now, while this is going on, all the cavalry showing up, and you're unaware until you watch body cams afterwards that you've got so many cops from different agencies showing up with long guns, and mostly long guns. There were pistols too, and they're taking shots at the guy. I'm a little surprised that the bad guy was able to get out of the police sergeant's SUV, run across the intersection, and to go carjack yet another vehicle. But when he gets there, he's not successful because now we have another high-speed police SUV, takes him freaking out, drags him to the rear of the car, and now you've got two things lumped in the road. I thought it looked like two bodies. I thought that maybe the civilian got carjacked and was laying it. No, it would look like the rear bumper of the car or something, and they're dithering the body of the bad guy. But then you hear all the gunfire, and then when you watch the body cams, even the bad guy, the cop that took out the bad guy, he gets out. I think he engages the sergeant that got shot in the head. He runs up and he gets some rounds off. It's just like the OK Corral. The best news is that the bad guy dies and the sergeant's gonna survive. I think I covered everything. If I left something out, don't feel bad about correcting me. You usually don't anyhow. Chief Ornelas, why don't you start us off on this one? 3 minutes.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to commend that sergeant for his heroism and his strength in taking a shot to the head. And you see the video, audience and Danny and Chip, and blood is on his hand. You can see the blood dripping down as he's shooting at the suspect. And when the only thing I have to critique is if that would have been me, I would have went through the intersection, spun around, distance, used my car as a potential barrier, because when he stepped out, he was so close to that suspect. That suspect took advantage of that opportunity. But that put aside, the sergeant's a hero. But when that suspect got in the car, the SUV patrol vehicle, and noticed he couldn't drive it, he started running. There was another officer who was further to the right, if you want to say, of the screen. He's running, shooting him as the sergeant's shooting him. That suspect, I believe, went down. And I got to tell you, I got to commend that other officer who ran him over, right? He ran him over, and his front bumper was also, like you said, was that another body? Was that something else?
Yeah.
And that other officer who came out with his rifle, I got to commend him for yelling crossfire, move to the right. And he was giving a lot of good direction, taking command of that, because I've been in a situation where you get so many officers or deputies in a situation, emotions high, that we had a deputy one time hit another deputy in the back of the shoulder, accidentally, friendly fire. So I got to give that one officer who came out with a rifle, coming along in front of that suspect, his body was laying here, yelling commands out. And I got to tell you, that's great command of a situation, and having the wits about you to yell at to your fellow officers. I'm sorry, Danny, go ahead.
No, great commentary, and you're absolutely right. The only thing that I would point out to our civilians, especially in light of the incidents that have happened across the country with Renee Good and Alex Preddy, is that you have a lot of officer-involved shootings, and this is more the norm than the Renee Good type shooting, right? And so in the coming political season, you're going to see a lot of people bring up those instances, and all those are tragedies. Okay, but remember, when you affect change because of a Renee Good or Alex Preddy, you're also affecting the change of the San Jose Sergeant or in what they do, right? So we look at the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, where they wanted to remove qualified immunity. Okay, let's say Renee Good, they want to sue that officer's family. So be it. Same thing with the San Jose Sergeant. You're affecting the ability to sue his family as well.
Guys,
So
we're gonna have to run to commercial break. I got 10 seconds, but hold that thought, Danny King. We'll be right back. All right, guys, time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. And as law enforcement officers, we deal with guns and we deal with ammo every day, but it's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending the live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialist like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Afianco. Now, the course has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, if you have your own agency, the founder, Dan O'Kelly's got a deal for you. You can actually host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You can go to gunlearn.com to get more information. And again, that website, it's gunlearn.com. All right, 2 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion of the show. Wow.
Something else, Dan, can I say something, Chip?
Yeah. I mean, but okay. If it's something really, really good, save it for the radio portion. But we got 2 minutes. But no, I mean, open up your mic because we got 2 minutes to talk. But I mean, if it's about the story, you want to save it for the radio portion. So,
all right,
or say it again.
I'll say it again, but I just thought, I'm sorry, Danny. Did you want to say something? I apologize.
No, I was going to say write it down, because if you don't write it down,
even though I'm 69, Danny, I'm still pretty savvy.
Oh, okay.
But I got to say this though too. Two things. Number one, I liked one of the commanders say, "Hey, check on the civilians." Number one of the officers said that. Number two, in the beginning, when that officer sergeant was shot, he's running towards some of his other officers after he's shot. That I love the fact they say get him in the hospital. They put him in a vehicle probably and get him help. And so but I like one of the officers giving the command, check on the civilians, and that's I got to tell you, that's wits. That's wits.
Yeah. You can't teach things like that. It just comes with time and experience, and it's one of those things that people start thinking about different things, and that's what you want, right? And that's the big difference between the police department and the fire department. Fire department, they wait for instructions. They're very coordinated, and it has to be that way when they're fighting the fire. Law enforcement, every individual officer is this spontaneous in which they see something and they act on it. So,
Danny, I know you got 19 seconds, but you don't have to tell me now, but are you seeing officers, deputies requesting sergeants there to handle some situations where my time and maybe your time and Chip's time didn't?
Well, let me hold that thought. I got to start the music. Going back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys. We're back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. We're joined by Officer Danny King from Las Vegas metro area and Chief Ralph Ornelas from California. Man, we are talking about a story with a video component that is just unbelievable. Bonafide bad guy, armed robber, carjacker, going through all kinds of multi-counties in California, getting in shootouts with cops from different agencies, county, state. We got California Highway Patrol involved in this in different cities, and long pursuit and we got air service up, and this guy's engaging the cops. And then at the end, he damages a civilian's car in an intersection. We have a police cruiser tries to take him out at high speed. When the sergeant gets out of the cruiser, when it stops, bad guy shoots a sergeant in the head. Sergeant survives, but now there's shootout. Cavalry arrives. A lot of long guns. Bad guy's able to try to steal the police cruiser, exits, runs through the intersection, and gets to another civilian's vehicle that he's trying to carjack, and then he's finally taken out by a second police SUV at high speed. And there's quite a bit of gunfire at the end of that. So that's what we've been talking about. This is one of those videos that you guys are going to absolutely want to see. You do that on a Rumble channel called Leo Roundtable tomorrow, starting at tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Eastern time. But when we left off, Ralph? I can't remember who was talking, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I know Danny's going to test me and see if my memory's good. That I come back to remember those two areas. Number one, I got to give commendation that one officer saying, check on the civilians, number one. Number two, when the sergeant was walking in between cars and blood's dripping down him, I got to commend those other officers. Hey, let's get him to the hospital. Let's get him right away in a patrol vehicle, code 3 to a hospital. So, I mean, I got to give, and under those situations, we all know when we've been in those situations, it's hard to get to thinking clearly, but these officers, I felt, did a really good job articulating some of those commands.
Agreed.
Well, that's one of those things that only comes with experience, Ro. And so when you're looking at the large flight of officers from agencies, and you're looking at the ability to handle those crisis situations, that was my element, man. I didn't like long-term investigations and case management and all those other things. When someone's going to get injured or killed and things have to be taken care of, like that's where I thrived. And law enforcement got to the point where I'd had my fun, and I'd never worked in a system that fought against itself to do its job so much that finally I was just like, hey man, I'm good. I've had my fun. Good luck. And to go back to your question, law enforcement has changed so much, in which it's a good thing that we take care of our community more and we're out there. But what about this guy? What about this guy who's going to drive through our neighborhoods, injuring and killing our citizens, right? We have to have the capacity to deal with that individual instantaneously, right? If my family's in that intersection, I want decisive action. I want that guy wiped out immediately, right? And unfortunately, we don't breed that type of warrior mentality. We only breed the guardian mentality, and that's you got to have both. So
good distinction. Well, guys, if we don't do it now, we're not going to have time to cover the second one. So let me roll this. Rumble.com. This is Butter. Brentwood police officer fatally shot suspect who went for the rifle inside of his car. So I want to go through this quickly. So I'm going to go with an ad lib from my notes as well. But in Brentwood, California, again, Chief Ornelas, authorities have identified the man who was shot and killed by Brentwood police during a traffic stop on Christmas Eve. 43-year-old bad guy Romaine Morgan of Stockton, according to Brentwood police. Police said that Morgan was pulled over about 10:55 in the evening on Christmas Eve, December the 24th. Suspicion of DUI, and he was the only person in the car, and it was registered to him. Officers developed probable cause to search the vehicle, discovered a loaded, high-powered rifle, and he resisted arrest, refused commands. Let me tell you what happened. So we got male officer and two female officers. That weighs into the situation. It's just in my opinion, it's just a fact. So that we have a male officer, two females. When he reached the point with this DUI suspect, that they're going to search the car, say, hey, go back and sit on my marked cruiser, basically. So the male officer tells the guy to go sit, not in the car, on the outside of the car. He's got a female officer watching him. The guy's not handcuffed. And so the male officer on the driver's side, the second female officer on the passenger side, they both have the doors open to the bad guy's car. They're searching it. And very quickly, the female officer reaches underneath the front passenger seat, pulls out. It's a long gun, high-powered rifle, but it looks like a short barrel rifle, or perhaps maybe technically maybe a pistol that's got rifle rounds. It was hard to tell, but it's a long gun. So they pull it out. So what they do, they set it down. It looked like they set it down on the driver's seat in the car, and both the female on the passenger side and the male officer, they leave the bad guy's car, leave the doors open on both sides of it, and the male officer approaches him and says, hey, turn around. And, he's going to go in and put handcuffs on the bad guy. This is a big black dude. He is like huge. He's like, so you got a male officer that's a decent, I mean, standard size, but in two females. So the first thing this dude does, he punches and takes out the first female, the closest one to him, and then he goes after the females, the easy targets, and he's running around. He breaks free from these guys and he starts running back to his car. So you hear the male officer tell one of the females, go for the taser, get the taser, get the taser. And so bad guy goes up to the doors open, waiting for him. The rifle's sitting right there in the driver's seat. He grabs it and spins around, and he's raising it up towards both females are right there in front of him. And the male officer was out of frame, but not far behind. So no one draws a gun and shoots him. The closest female had a taser in her hand because she was told to do that. So everybody vamooses. It took more time for them to run away than it would have been the draw and shoot. So they run around. They're taking cover behind the cruiser, except for one female that's like running across the street with absolutely no cover at all. So finally, our male officer, using the car as partial cover, the police cruiser, ends up engaging the guy that's got a rifle, not a fair gunfight at all. The guy's got a rifle, and the cop wins, and he takes the guy out with a pistol. Bad guy's pronounced dead at the scene, and he was a convicted felon, prohibited person, but of course it didn't stop him from having a gun. So there we go. We got two open mics. Whoever wants to take it first. Well, Chief Ralph, you're representing California today, and you're doing it so well. Why don't you take this one?
Well, first of all, I would have got, my suspicion went up real big time when he's at the door of the suspect's car and says, "I'm not going to let you search my car." Now, when somebody ever said that to me, that tells me, bingo, there's something in that car more than what he's even revealing and stuff. The other thing is controlling a body. They didn't control the body when they went back there. I probably, being a small man that I am, when I set him back to the back of his car, I probably say, "Sir, you're not under arrest. I'm putting the handcuffs on you right now," right? All right. And at that moment in time, he might have went Duke City with me, but guess what? Now
you're ready.
I'm ready for it, right? Mentally. The other thing I have a problem with is this. The other lady, the female on the other side of the car, what did she not see that, I know there was some clothing, but did she really look hard enough with the flashlight into that vehicle? And then all of a sudden, here they go. They're in the back of that car, and they're not breaking leather. And they know when he's fighting them, the suspect wants to get back into that vehicle and get that weapon. And the female that's to the left of the vehicles, she's exposed, as you eloquently said, and there's a lot of different tactical stuff. And, I got to give the male guy kudos, though, what he did.
All right, Danny King, we may have to go. We got a minute left, but we have 60 seconds after that, so we may have to cut into the Wounded Blue time, but go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, well, again, just craziness. One of the things that you notice in this incident is the body camera, you may not notice, is that the body camera shows the individual put his hands up as he's being shot. And the important thing about that is the body camera is lower than the eye line of the officer. The officer has a firearm in front of his face, essentially, so he can't see the suspect's arms, right? So at the moment that suspect brings up that rifle, it's a pistol, an AR pistol. At the moment he brings it up, he sets in motion a series of events that he cannot recover from, right? Because the officer punches out his weapon. That weapon is now consuming everything below his eye line, and he starts firing at that individual who has now apparently dropped the weapon. But at that point, it's too late, right? You're asking a police officer to be a human being. Oh. He's being a human being at that point.
Yeah, definitely in hindsight, some things that could have, it's a lot of this is training. Look, none of us are perfect. You put me on 10 calls at my peak, and you're going to be able to find things I did wrong on every one of them. This is an advantage for cops to learn from this, but definitely how many potential bad guys, even good guys, have I handcuffed because I show up at a scene with multiple people running around. I'm grabbing all of them, handcuffing them until I sort things out. There's nothing wrong with handcuffing them. You can do a lawful detainment without arresting people. And yeah, there's some things that could have been done differently. Look, I want to mention the Wounded Blue at thewoundedblue.org. Check them out. Hey, thank you so much, Danny King and Chief Ornelas, for being on the show. Appreciate it. And also our sponsors, Galls.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, Gunler.com, and Medicare.live, Safeguard Recruiting, and TwoBells.com. We'll see you guys back tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern. We appreciate it. And we're going to keep going for about another minute and a half. Danny, I'm so glad you were on this episode. If there's anything that you guys want to say? You know, we have the streaming audience going for another minute and a half in case there's anything you guys want to add. But wow, these 2 videos, and we didn't even get to the one with the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that you see in law enforcement, going back to Ralph's earlier question, is are we seeing a difference in officers' willingness to take action on their own? And you do, right? Think back of when you went to the academy, you didn't know anything. You know, you went from selling tires or doing IT stuff to now being a police officer and some guy telling you, hey, someone might try and kill you one day. But when they get out there, over time, law enforcement has changed its stance on its willingness to be violent, right? Because they think that that's somehow an undesirable outcome or a failure. And so what you oftentimes see, unfortunately, is officers who, in the face of danger, still will not take action because they think that's not what the agency wants. They think that it's going to lead to an undesirable outcome for them, or that things are just going to work out. When in fact, a senior officer or a more experienced officer will know there's no good outcome here, and they'll just get to work, doing whatever needs to be done. And that's just a fact that we can never forget as law enforcement, and especially as civilians, that sometimes the answer is use of force or violence by the government. Sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating. Let me tell you, you're looking at a man who's been in a lot of confrontations. Guess what? I never shot anybody, and I think it's because of my mouth, my brain, and my heart. And being a little guy, working a one-man unit in South Central, my tactics were good. My tactics were good. But the other thing is this, Danny, it concerns me, and Chip. I see a lot of videos and talk to a lot of officers. I go on ride-alongs. He who hesitates loses. Sometimes you have to put hands on to mitigate a confrontation like this situation in Brentwood. They should have put the handcuffs on him, and they could have controlled him. And if it would have happened, he would have went fisticuffs before the handcuffs really completely. But guess what? Now you really know what's going on in this man's mind, and not enable him get back to that car. So it's really tough. It's really hard, and my heart goes out. Been on ride-alongs with some deputies and police officers. It's a different ball game out there, Danny and Chip. It really is from the time I came on, and and my heart breaks. But I tell you though, the ones I did ride with, these officers are a lot more in tune to case law than even when I came on.
Really?
Yep, they are. They are, and policy too. I learned through mistakes about policy, but these deputies and police officers, they know their policies and the parameters they could work within.
Wow. This last case would have been a perfect opportunity for the glove. It would have eliminated the need to use deadly force. Just get a hold of the skin. You got 3 people on this bad guy, all you got to do is just grab that wrist, and it would have been over. So yeah, too bad. We got to get that. We got to get the glove in more agencies. I know MVS. I got to find out who MVS is, what agency he selected. If you're an agency in Northwest California, you better be or Colorado. You better be trying to find out who MVS is and hooking up with them so you get that free pair of gloves. Mine's going to Tampa. But hey, an excellent show. Thank you guys so much. Everybody over on Rumble and LinkedIn, thanks for watching the show. MVS and Bill BC, I see you guys made it. Andrew, all those guys, thanks so much. And we got Sergeant George over here, and we have a new. There's a new guy, James Vocatura, and I believe he's former law enforcement. And he's old school, 70 years old. James, thanks for watching the show. I love seeing names and histories when people type in the information and stuff. So thank you so much. And everybody else watching the show, we appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you guys hopefully back tomorrow here, 12 noon Eastern time. Thanks, guys.
Nice being you, Dan.